Well, I think this map, this is the snow and the ice across North America. It's going to look a lot different as we head into December, as we're looking at a really big active pattern starting to set up across the country. There was some eye candy that came out this afternoon on the European, ugh. We're going to talk about that in the video today, but we are going to look at some of the long-range signals that we're seeing, including the WPO going negative. We're going to talk about the upper-level pattern, and we are going to take it day by day across the west, across the central U.S., and also toward the east coast. Let's start off with where the snow is right now. Not a lot out there. I mean, let's be real. Outside of the mountains, by the way, my friends in Flagstaff picking up, well, I don't know that necessarily Flagstaff, but in the mountains around Flagstaff, up at the ski resort there, yeah, close to 3 feet of snow on the ground. Beautiful skiing there in Arizona, where there's barely any snow north of that into Utah and Colorado. Some snow, but nothing like what we've seen across the far southwest. There are some changes, though, and again, I think we start to increase our chances for snow further to the east as this cold pattern sets up. This is the WPO going strongly negative today. You know, you look at this and go, all right, this looks like a cold pattern heading into December. If you look at the North Atlantic oscillation, this is something to look at too. This is the European weeklies. Right here is around the 11th. This thing's kind of positive, which is kind of different, right? So if you want the cold in the east, you want to see this going strongly negative. So the European weeklies keep it positive. The GFS takes the North Atlantic oscillation positive. This almost would argue warm air across the east. And I think we're starting to see that too. I think it's going to get cold across the central U.S. and across the west. The east coast is still to be determined, I think. Let's take a look at the extended weeklies beyond what's going on right now, and I'll show you what I mean. Once we get towards the first week of December, this would be the previous 7 days to the 7th, right? So once we now moving toward the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th, so that first week of December, you can kind of see how your trough is carved out. Huge blocking showing up across Alaska. The overall pattern, though, is look at this. It's cold. This keeps things chilly across the northern plains, across the Great Lakes, with shots of cold air into the northeast. But I do think this is going to be a relatively warm setup for the south. I think you're going to get your cold pushes of air. And look, it's going to turn cold. You're getting this stratospheric warming. None of this has changed, but looking at some of the new data with the North Atlantic oscillation going kind of positive as we head into December, I just wonder about the East Coast if you're going to get cold enough. Either way, I think we're getting ready to turn really cold as we head into this first week of December. Take a look at the European deterministic upper pattern. This sort of tells the story of what's going on. We've got this cold pocket of air moving through the southwest. That's bringing some rain and some snow here. So I think Flagstaff up into the high mountains, we'll get a little more snow out of this. Maybe you'll get lucky into parts of Colorado where we could use some snow and some precipitation. Kind of dry here. Several folks in the channel chiming in from Colorado from time to time, and maybe you'll get some as we head through the weekend. Into the northeast, another cold shot of air. Across Canada, a relatively zonal flow, right? Everything moving east to west pretty quickly. And in that flow, we have this disturbance that's going to slide through on Monday and Tuesday. I think that's going to bring some snow out here into parts of Alberta, Saskatchewan, Calgary. I think you get some snow. Southern parts of Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And then watch northern parts of the U.S. too, right in here along the border and into the Great Lakes as we head into Wednesday and Thursday. The overall pattern starts to turn cold as we approach Thanksgiving. So chilly temperatures from here east. Numbers falling all the way into the south, and that lifts up pretty quickly, and then this is going to go pretty rapid. I want to show you what happens. The European has been showing this monster storm developing sometime around the 1st of December. Today, it's a little different. Let me show you what I'm wondering about in the upper pattern. You can see this big ridge almost trying to get out over top of this cold air aloft and cut it off. Do you see right here? You have, in fact, disconnected things here from the Arctic. This looks a little weird to me. The GFS and the European couldn't be in more different camps than they are today, but the European is just keeping it cold. And then on the front side of this, I think that's where you get your big winter storms, and that's what the European is starting to sniff out. I'm going to show you the operational run from today as we talk about the weather over the coming weekend, also into next week, and I'll take you beyond that. Here's where we are precipitation-wise. Some showers moving through parts of the south, also across the mid-Atlantic. A little bit of light snow squeezing through southern parts of Canada here into southern Ontario. And we've got the snow picking up to here in the Canadian Rockies. So Banff, I think some of that spreads east. Edmonton, it's going to be tough to get much snow out of this, but there could be a little bit. Looks like it's more to your south towards Calgary, up here into the high elevations of Montana, also Idaho. And then the rain chances start to pick up across the plains as we head into Monday. A decent ridge in the upper levels, kind of like this. So relatively warm temperatures across a good part of the country with this type of setup. Here comes the snow sliding in, though. You can see it right here along the U.S.-Canadian border. A couple of inches could be falling from this system. It's relatively weak, but it'll start to put some snow down, and then this system drags east. Warm temperatures out ahead of this. So numbers way above average as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. The rain picks up, too. A lot of you may be hitting the road on Tuesday. That rain picking up from South Texas all the way toward the Great Lakes. And then behind this, we get cold enough for some snow. International Falls. I don't know down to Minneapolis if we see the snow, but the area ahead of Minnesota could get some snow out of this, and then just north of the border here into southern Canada. This low moving north, it's starting to deepen, and as it does so, now your upper level pattern is more like this. You can see this trough digging in, warm ridging out ahead of it here across the east, so we've got some pretty warm temperatures for Wednesday anyway, all liquid, and then the cold air rushes in behind this. Temperatures start to drop across Texas, down into the deep south, and then across the west. The ridge starts to build back out ahead of the next system that digs in. And this is the one I want to show you. I hesitate to show you because, listen, it's an operational run. It will change between now and tomorrow. I'm more interested in the pattern that we're starting to see take shape, and that's a stormy one. Okay, now you've got your trough in the east. You've got lake effect, which, by the way, I think by Black Friday or so, we're going to be dealing with some significant lake effect snow here downwind of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Maybe a road trip here with the weather on the YouTube channel. We go up to check out some lake effect snow. I don't know. If you're in that area, I'd love to see your pictures. Open the comments up on the page. You can post some pictures there if you like, but it's going to be cold. The lake effect's going chilly, making you feel like Christmas anyway. This system will have to be watched too. A weak system sliding through the Midwest could bring some rain and snow here toward the end of next week, but look what's happening across the Northwest. This is that next system again that I'm a little hesitant to show you. This would dump a lot of snow into the mountains. This would turn it cold out west, bring that snow level down to the valley floors. We're talking about snow in Salt Lake City if it gets this cold, all the way down to the valley floor. And then this moves east of the mountains. Look how strong the European is it's just bombing this storm out here with a lee side low just east of the Rockies. This looks weird. I don't know about all this mixed precipitation, but now you've got this huge Arctic 1050 millibar high, just pumping the cold air in. You've got a blizzard on the plains with this type of setup. That right here, this is a huge storm if it pans out this way. Okay, take a look. This was the afternoon run. Look at last night's run. Bang. What are you talking about? So you've got this odd run that came out today, but it's interesting that the models are all over the place so much, and I think it's just because we're dealing with so many dynamic things happening in the atmosphere, like the stratospheric warming. You've got a lot of blocking starting to show up as we get toward the first couple of weeks of December, and I think the operational runs are picking up on it. This is the part that I think is also funky with this wild setup. It gets really warm in the east too, by the way. Cold and snowy on the backside of this. And then look how this new run of the European tries to almost go extreme with some snow all the way into Texas. I don't think so. I just think this is fantasy land at this point. But the point is, look how interesting these storm patterns are starting to be and where the snowstorms are showing up. So I think the potential for snow is growing heading into December. I don't believe this just yet. Let's watch it, though. I'll show you the GFS here while we're looking at this right now. If you're joining the live stream, if you want to back it up and take it from the beginning, you can. But this would be the GFS, okay? So while there is some different looking setups overall, this is the 18Z run of the GFS. It's not quite the same, but boy, it actually is picking up on that storm too, around the 1st and the 2nd now. So this looks a little bit different maybe than the one that ran earlier today. Yeah, so this would be the midday run of the GFS. Still showing some weird action going on across the central U.S. This will be an interesting watch. I'm going to be looking at this every day. So if you think you'll like this kind of content, subscribe, hit those notifications, come back and watch. Look at this. Good grief. I mean, come on, guys. You're talking 40 inches of snow here in northern parts of Nebraska showing up on the operational model. Yeah, not going to happen. Go back to yesterday. Look different. But some of you would say, gosh, I was in it yesterday. Look, if you live and die by the models, you're going to go crazy. You can't do that. It's one of the reasons I like to look at ensemble guidance long range. And the pattern becomes snowier heading into December. I've got no doubt about that. Whether it hits you in your backyard is to be determined, right? Okay, let's take you through the next couple of days. We'll start across the southwest. Again, those snow levels pretty high up around Flagstaff, so it's going to be not as cold, I think, as the last system, but some precipitation here from Phoenix up into southern parts of Colorado. Ski season underway out here across the west, so a little bit more snow falling, and then the snow starts to pick up too, again, across the Pacific Northwest into the Canadian Rockies. This low moves east. It takes the precipitation out into the plains. And look, a pretty decent amount of snow, I think, up here towards Monday and Tuesday. It'd be a nice time if you like the cold and you want to go check it out, head to the Northern Rockies. We turn cold, and then, once you get into Tuesday, this is the GFS. It's a lot different than the European, right? So how about that? I don't know. That looks a little funky. That the GFS wants to phase these two pieces of energy together. The European, by the way, not quite as aggressive, right? So here comes that first system into the plains. There comes your system out of the Canadian Rockies. Not nearly as much snow. So there are some subtle differences even in the short range, or I guess the medium range. And then once we get past this, another system moving into the northwest, it looks like anyway, with more rain and snow. Here's a look at your temperatures across the southwest. Again, relatively, kind of cool, but not as cool as it's been, and not as cold, I guess. So those snow levels a little bit higher across the southwest. And with the precipitation cold here across the Four Corners states, let's head east across the plains and a closer look at that crazy snow that the European was dumping here. There comes that system out of Colorado. This is the European, by the way. We'll flip over to the GFS. Well, we just showed you, really. So I don't know that I need to show you. The difference was up here into the Dakotas. Rain moving east as we head into Monday. Looks likely now as we start to enter the travel season ahead of Thanksgiving into Tuesday. Cold air starts to build in behind this. Winds will turn out of the northwest. It's going to get gusty too. Quiet, though, across the plains as high pressure settles in. A calm evening here heading into Thanksgiving, and a calm Thanksgiving morning across the Mississippi Valley as high pressure sets up shop. Some snow around the Great Lakes. This will be interesting to watch heading into Friday. Again, does something get squeezed out with this system as it slides in from the northwest and moves toward the Great Lakes? And this is the interesting storm. We're talking about the 29th, so not this weekend. We're talking about well over a week away. Do I need to say anything? Wild. Okay, and then look at this. You're snowing in Mexico. You're snowing in El Paso. I got to laugh at this. Okay, so, yeah, I don't believe this. More to come. I'm just going to move on. Warm day tomorrow. This is Saturday's highs. Let's go east. Cold in the northeast as this chilly air starts to rush in behind our trough, or with our trough, I should say, and with some northwest winds, high pressure settling in. A little bit of rain and snow can't be ruled out heading into Sunday, and across Florida, starting to dry out some too, although a bit of an easterly flow will start to pick up. Now, southwest flow starts to build as we head into the week across the northeast into the Great Lakes. Warm temperatures. This is right before the lake effect really starts to pick up, guys, as you head into Friday and Saturday. As that cold air moves in, you'll see it. Your temperatures start to drop across the Midwest. We start to dry out, and there's your feeder bands. You can kind of see them really starting to pick up downwind of the Great Lakes. So, again, Lake Michigan, I don't know. It's going to be tough. You're just not going to have the right trajectory, but watch this as it comes off of Superior, Huron. Do we end up with some residual moisture trying to tap maybe into Lake Erie and Ontario with some enhancement? Interesting to see. That would put some pretty heavy snow here along the I-90 corridor. Maybe the Tug Hill Plateau if you can swing that band further to the north. Another weak system bringing some rain and snow to this region. High pressure settling across the south again. And we do that warm-up again, it looks like, as we head toward the 29th and the 30th. With this type of storm track, it definitely keeps it warm across the east with a massive winter storm back to the west. Again, just an operational run. I promise it will be different tomorrow, and I will have an update, but it tries to do some funky things for the north, for the Great Lakes and into the northeast, heading towards the 4th and 5th. Still a long way to go. Going to be continuing to watch this. Look at these temperatures. Look at this difference. I mean, if you're up here in Pittsburgh looking at mid-40s for high temperatures, you're looking just to the south towards Charlotte, just 4 or 5 hours away, and you're in the upper 70s. Beautiful day in Charlotte, though. Those temperatures start to drop. We're back into the 60s on Sunday. Cold into the northeast. The skiing is better in the northeast than it is in the west. Look at those northeast ski resorts. I'm telling you, it's been cold. The snow has been made, and there's even been quite a bit of natural snow up here, too. We start to see the change happen as we head towards Wednesday and Thursday. Here comes your cold air building in by Friday morning. Look at your lows dropping back into the 20s, well below freezing Friday afternoon. staying below freezing in a lot of areas. And again, this would be the time when you're dealing with this lake effect. More to come. If you enjoyed this kind of weather geekery, hit subscribe, come back, and we'll see you next time. If you missed the live feed, remember you can check it out anytime right here on the channel. See ya.